is because I was traveling to so many conventions, and in Japan I did not do a news review in over a month, and also I haven't slept in 36 hours, so bear with me today, but I'm pretty sure we're gonna have a lot of fun and you'll discover a lot of things that you had no idea about that the devs have said in the Discord while we were all away and having fun. And next week we have the 2.7 update for Apple Arcade, so there's probably going to have a little bit of hints for that, but we'll find out. Let's go. Merge is here! It's finally happening, the first Hello Kitty Island adventure. Merge has arrived to Sonic's. We've got 2 super cute Switch cases and a set of HK thumb grips that are perfect for taking your adventure to the next level. You know what to do, friends. If you want more merch, show them the love. And so the link they have here links to the official Sanrio shop, which only ships to Canada and USA. But if you go to Sonic's directly, it will ship to many places, but not Switzerland. But I did contact them and they were nice enough to make me a special invoice and I could order it. I ordered several times the same blue thing because the shipping was too expensive for just the one, and I wanted to have more to get free shipping. But I could have gotten also the green one, but I really think it's too basic and it's really not specifically designed as Hello Kitty Island Adventure. For some reason, I really reads basic Sanrio for me, and same as the thumb grip. This is like the hibiscus in Chococat. This is not anything like we actually see the characters in Hello Kitty Island Adventure, so I really like the blue one better. I'm not sure why they picked this too basic design. I mean, I don't mind having different colors, but why adding the characters so basic that are not how they are in the game? Some people were talking about the shadow of a crown in an achievement, and Esther Diversa said, oh, so it's the golden crown, grindy. And Chelsea said, it shouldn't be. We intentionally don't incentivize the golden crown anywhere. Crowns that include similar silhouettes would be the lounge crown or the happy heaven crown. And also some people were saying that I had some hats that were still not tucked in the collection, and Chelsea said the horn one is a known thing we're trying to solve. So I don't know if it's a new crown or we should have gotten it and it's a bug. We forgot to give it to players. Yeah, apparently either they forgot to give the item to players or they forgot to give the achievement to players. Yeah, that needs to be completely removed from the achievements. Let's get that into 2.6. Making people feel like they have to get something that was a community in-joke on grindiness is definitely not cool. Apparently it's being changed in 2.6. Ectopic Flower Note says, side note on the crown though. When I got it a couple of weeks ago, I didn't consider it an achievement. It was nothing like the people who actually had to grind to get it. I did it for fun because I had too many sticks and wormtails. It was too easy to compare to others who got it in the hard ways. And Chelsea said, yeah, that's fair that it's gotten significantly easier since then, significantly, but still I think the early game economy is such that seeing something like that feeling compelled by its existence is still something I don't think is good. Speaking about the 50th anniversary items, like the balloons, the dresses, the things like that we got last year on November 1st for the 50th anniversary of Hello Kitty. Just wanted to find out about this item being on Switch. Phoebe said, this should be the case. The originals were given out for the anniversary that happened on Apple Arcade last year, since 2024 was Hello Kitty's 50th anniversary. This item will return in an upcoming project, but they will not have the original tag. Original is maybe another one of the red tag, but apparently we'll have this item. But she didn't mention event. She says project. Ultimate Gift Josh. Hey y'all, we're thinking about enhancing the look and design of some character ultimate gifts so that they're immediately visually more interesting and rare / awesome looking. We know folks can be sensitive when the look of things they've been working for changes, so wanted to get a temp check. This might be things like giving the pink cloud ice cream more hints of my Melody's design, maybe add a yellow hibiscus or hints of her iconic hood, just for an example. Then Cookie Chan said it might be cute to redesign them to reflect the character more. And Chelsea said that's exactly the goal. For instance, we love the red apple pie. It's pretty unmistakable. A, who it's for, and B, that it's awesome. But Meave said, would this make Cinnamoro's Coco a possible point of confusion since it's not a 3-heart despite being designed like him, but it's very late game, so that's not too much of an issue. And actually you make it in the creation station, which is weird. Issa says, sometimes I get vibes from the show Lost when playing this game, especially with all the mystery things that happened in the island, lol. Chelsea said, if we tie it up as poorly as Lost, I will weep. I think we've already ahead of that, but we'll see, won't we? And Issa said, I meant because of their mystery part, but I think HK is doing great. Sorry, I wasn't trying to compare them like that. Oh, I know, I just always my biggest fear. I hope we do much better. Mystery vibes, good. Unsatisfactory, endless slugs of loose threads, not good. Tal said, I was wondering if it would be possible, game dev wise, to customize the color of wallpapers and floor like furniture. If not, what makes it challenges impossible to do so? And Chelsea said, customizability of furniture usually comes down to time and brand restriction. Characters' furniture is much harder to customize because every combination has to be specific and approved. For other furniture, we tried our best to do customization when time allows. We have a limited amount of art bandwidth, and it really just comes down to how intense the other environment/assets needs are. Tal said, I wasn't clear about my first part of my question. I was asking about the wallpaper and floor being non-customizable compared to the furniture that are. And Chelsea said floor and wallpaper customization is on the roadmap. Ottopa says, is it possible Sanrio will ever be interested in making merch for characters introduced in 𝖋𝖑𝖙, for example Top Hat and Island Spirit? We've been having discussions around merch. There's a lot of factors I never knew about that goes into it, so it's a learning process for us certainly. I can't talk much about specifics, but it's something we're pushing for. Oh, definitely Top Hat and Island Spirit. Imagine them as plushies. That would be so cute. People are talking about the fact that, for example, when you arrive with your pickaxe next to something, it comes out automatically, but for example, not the net or not the fishing rod. And Chelsea said, the change when you're close to something is what we call contextual, aka it changes based on the avatar's context. So yes, sadly, it can't happen for the trowel since it's destructive. And contextual plus destructive equals bad accident. Exactly like one day I was trying to do, I don't remember what, and I accidentally destroyed a chest with my pickaxe because I was trying to catch bugs repeatedly in this area, and I apparently hit 3 times. So apparently it's 3 times like in total, not 3 times, and if you leave it alone you have to do it 3 times again. But it's interested in knowing how many people would want a selected tool like the net to override context. We'll probably get way too many bugs reports unfortunately. Why my pickaxe stopped working? Well, now you have to unequip your net for it to work, blah blah blah. On Give Devs, Quest asked, I've been wondering why all the WishMeMell friends have such short descriptions compared to other visitors. Did Sanrio put some kind of restriction on describing her friends? Everything related to the character's official bios is 100% Sanrio. Oftentimes the focus has been on developing the characters visually while keeping their personality mainly conveyed through images/illustrations. For the game, Sanrio has actually had to flesh out characters much more than they were before, and this takes a lot of time. Sometimes Sanrio has the time and sometimes they don't. In the case of WishMeMell, her friends are very well known, and I got the impression that perhaps updates were in progress, so the bios in game are the only things that were approved. Interesting. They're so cool. I really love all of them. They're so creative, and I would like to see more of them and more of their personalities during some of the future quests. So when we talked about Friends of Retsuko, Lucas said, imagine if one of the new visitors is directed Ton. That would be a mess. And actually, he's been mentioned. I don't remember if he was in capital, like, you know, a different color and more heavy letters. because that's usually like a milk was always written differently and things like that, so we knew it will be a real character. But Director Ton, I'm not sure, I don't remember. And Josie said, this one's gonna be a very different kind of mess. She did not say it would be a kind of mess. So she said, this one's gonna be a very different kind of mess. So Director Ton is coming. And my question is it Director Ton's from season 1 or from season 5? Totally different character. But also Retsuko's still working as an accountant and is pretty stressed out with her boss. Probably season 1. By the way, go watch Retsuko on Netflix if you have not, because you'll love her and love all the other characters. If you're not sold on Gori and Washimi, you'll love them. Hkia said, question about the minigames. Do you get the moonbeams from them? I've heard people mention it, but don't quite understand if you do. Just said it will change in 2.6.5. I'm not clear either if they added or removed the moonbeam to the minigames. Prismo said, 675 for the clothes, 535 for the furniture, totaling 1210 moonbeams. Molly said, this is completely insane. Will there be more stuff added in the future to help with this? And Jesse said, we've already mentioned that the prices will be going down and moonbeam will be added to minigames in the 2.6.5 update. 𝖋𝖑𝖔𝖊𝖗 said, including gem match and apple bogging, please, please, please. And Jessie said, yep, should be in all of them. I'm confirming now. 𝖋𝖑𝖔𝖊𝖗 said, this is a bummer if you have no use for sparkles though. Like the rollercoaster game giving you a shiny when shinies are lying all over. And Jessie said, sparkles feed into the minigames, which is where additional moonbeams will now be available. Having it go into game tickets gives player more choice in terms of how they want to play. Versus the island challenge can be quite precise and have the timer associated with them, which appears to a narrower band of our audience. 𝖋𝖑𝖔𝖊𝖗 said, I have thousands of game tickets, so this makes the moonbeam more inaccessible for someone in my situation. And Chelsea said, that's why we are bringing down the prices overall as well. So the prices of the things that you buy with moonbeam in Kiki's shop. We also do intend to do more with sparkles economy down the road, but I totally understand that right now its utility expires somewhere around the mid-game. Yes, I don't think I've used even a single one my sparkles to exchange them for game tickets. Peachy got it. Moonbeams added to the minigames reward won't make existing minigames prizes more rare, right? I feel like there's so many potential prizes for minigames now. Adding moonbeams as an alt prize will definitely make the prizes for minigames overall more rare. Also, would that mean that moonbeams would be accessible to any players even though they haven't reached the moon yet, so long as they play the minigames? And Chelsea answered, they'll only be accessible once you've reached the cool thing. As far as overall rarity, the signs outside of minigame now tell you exactly what your prize pool is, so you'll be able to see what's in the docket. So that means that each time you only have these 3 potential things? Interesting. And then we don't plan on changing how the minigame system works. Now they're talking about having moonbeams as a prize of the island challenges. And Chelsea said, the issue is that we can't reduce it to 1 per challenge. The smallest amount is 3, which then blows up the moonbeam economy and makes all the numbers somewhat ridiculous, especially for the folks who just want to wait it out. We could make it so to have a 33% chance of getting a moonbeam each run, but then you'll be back in RNG land anyways. Then Fullscrum is saying, couldn't moonbeam be restricted to a moon minigame and work like Rocket-Doodlers? And Chelsea said, I mean, yes, but then we'll have to make an entire new minigame. Okay, and now Chelsea shares official response from the person who coded it about the sign outside the minigame. This was updated to do what she requested. The items on the sign are chosen from the larger pool. If you win the minigame, one of the sign item is chosen to be given. The items that's given is removed from the sign and a new item is chosen from the pool. 2 caveats to this. The same item could fill the emptied slot, so it might look like it didn't change. The same item could be chosen for multiple slots, in which case the sign will show fewer items. It consolidates duplicates because that looked really weird. Do we know the new total of moonbeams needed for the new prices? boxes, and then I got 825 for one of each item instead of 1200 before. And Jessie said you get 8 a day as well, so is that more than before? And then it's tuned to be 3 months of autocollect, which seems fitting for a very, very late game area. Anything in the minigame winds up as a bonus, time shortener. We are trying to get it to be 3 times the moonbeams when you get it in minigames, but that fascinatingly requires new tech. Jessie said, we decreased all the costs of the store so that it went from taking over 6 months to collect to only 3 to 4 based on the 8 that spawns each day. We removed moonbeams from challenges because challenges elsewhere just return their original currency and moonbeams aren't a regional currency, the ones that spawns 50 a day. This created a big imbalance between people who have hours to spend grinding and those who don't, and we do our best to make sure that anything grindy always feels optional and non-mandatory. With moonbeams it feels mandatory, which was not desirable. Hunter something said, why can moonbeam go in someone's egg, like big challenges after his best friend or one of the twin stars? I'd really like another way to get them than games. We get other currency from eggs, they should be in eggs too. Jessie said, that's an interesting idea. We've never added to a capsule after the fact, because in some way it decreases odds of getting other things, but I agree that it'd be something good if there was ever a character or visitor on the moon. And then Hadul said, okay team, what sanrio character would live on the moon? And Chelsea said, I know. Also a petition to make space planet gudetama permanent in the sky. And Chelsea said, this is also 100% a thing our team wants. So you know, like the giant gudetama that actually flips, like that looks like a planet in the sky that you have to take a photo of. That would be fun. Chelsea said, our producer is adamant that we find a way to make gudetama come back. So now that people who played over a year have all the top hat gudetama maybe. So I don't know if they want all the gudetama come back to the thing. Well, we'll see. Brookstar said, did we get new eggs? I love and miss those little guys. I wish I could put their little statues around outside. Chelsea said, I am currently watching this period's hackathon presentations and someone did exactly that. We're gonna try and get it integrated into the game. Fuzera says, I think there should be a day at the end of the year when they all come back, like in Pokemon Go. And Chelsea said, this is what happens with Top Hat Gudetama during the month of May. The issue is visually distinguishing the ones you found versus the ones you haven't. One thing we're considering is that the reward for finding all the goods in the area is the ability to toggle them back on. Somebody complaining about the Under the Sea past event costing 500 seashells. Phoebe said, this is intentional. It is due to the number of seashells players can obtain per day, 50 per day on the map, plus gift boxes, sea pony races, challenge course, etc. Feloon said, but I don't want to pay 100 blue seashells for a coffee table, lol. Chelsea said, it's a 5-week event, and with 50 shell a day, that's only 2 days worth. The number looks big, but when you take it in terms of days to collect, it won't actually take long. Brighty said, interestingly afterwards I can't then ride the roller coaster like a roller coaster such as the one in the swamp or the minecart. The null only asks if I want to fly to the moon again or not. So that's sad, but also that's super cool to be able to be back through the roller coaster and not just the mailbox. But Josie said, I think someone on our team deeply agrees with you and wants to make it repeatable, so that might happen. Zephyr says, just so you know, the name of the roller coaster is the Icy Peak Shriek, named by Big Challenges. Cookie-chan says, it's interesting because you can't use the balloons on the moon, but I really wanted to use my UFO balloons with the moon background. Jessie said, yeah, we toyed with it for a while, but the balloons just wound up being really confusing. Bad game feel. Then CU2 launched on Steam with the biggest challenge main quest line and associated surprises, 2 new visitors for Retsuko, upgraded minimaps, Friendship Island Bestie Collection, new character furniture, new extreme file flowers and effect, performance improvements, various small bug fixes. CU2 is now also live on Switch as of the 26th of June. Is this content not yet completed in Apple Arcade? Talking about CD Down, and Chelsea said, yes, CD Down is still considered a major work in progress for us, and we want to only put out things that have a certain level of doneness in other platforms. Some people were complaining that some fish would not work anymore, and Chelsea said, our design lead said, while working on fish balance, I discovered that an issue would cause fish in certain circumstances to basically never bite. It's possible that's what's happening. Either way, he says the rebalance work is going out in 2.7, so should solve that. Somebody showed a screenshot of the silhouette in recipe and says, what's that? And Chelsea said it's a data oopsie that leaked a bit early. It's not accessible yet. Because things get automatically scripted into the recipe list as soon as the data exists behind the scenes. And in this case, the data slipped into a build early. So that was 2.6, so that means that we'll get a new recipe of eggs pan thing in the 2.7, probably. Check it. Emma said, was stamina nerfed in the update? And Chelsea said, stamina was frame rate dependent before, now it's locked. It'll be faster for some people and slower for others. If you have a very good machine, yeah, it feels slower now. Yeah, sorry, there's some upcoming stuff where the platforming is a key part of gameplay, so when we realized it wasn't standardized, we had to fix it. Stefia said, can we get a gold star when the Scholastic event returns? Lol. And Chelsea said, what was the currency last year? Was it pencils? If it was pencil, we do get a new currency this year. Meave said, people did have a bit of difficulty distinguishing the pencil currency with the wearable ones, so this is a nice change. And Chelsea said, sometimes we learn, sometimes. Steph said, does this mean that the RNG with opening the pencil cases / currency might change as well? Feels like I'm opening a can of worms with this question though. And Chelsea said, I think we decided to keep the RNG. It was really only an issue with folks who were comparing themselves to other in a community. And the tuning was always tuned to the RNG minimum, so anything above that just helped folks get more dupes. I'm not 100% positive though. I've been more out of the loop on the event specifics since I got back from mat leave. I was just remembering some vocalization from the chats last year. And Chelsea said, yeah, it was valid feedback. We just thought ultimately that the benefit of having some variety to event systems for everyone outweighs the frustration of a smaller group. On event currency, I do like how the mermaid scales are in bubble this year, makes them a lot easier to spot. And Chelsea said, and touch pickup instead of action pickup. So I like that so much too. That's really convenient. Apparently you can already see the silhouettes in the Jam Jamboree event collection. People said, I don't know what this says. And Chelsea said, I think it's a UFO with a ramp coming down. Obviously it's not that. And then they're looking at the poster of the My Melody and Kuromi Netflix show. And Chelsea said, internally we've been trying to figure out if those two fox characters on the left are new for the show. Honestly, I have never seen them before. And also they have the Kuromi kind of skull that she has on her forehead as, I don't know, a brooch for their scarf. So it might definitely be something very specific for Kuromi. This show is going to be so amazing. I can't wait. I can't wait. And then A says, is this why My Melody and Kuromi are getting their furniture packs? And Chelsea said, their designs are very cute. This year is My Melody's 50th and Kuromi's 20th anniversary. So there's a lot of hype around them this year, including the show. We also have some things planned as silhouettes have shown. Natty said, I really love pickles like this. And then Chelsea said, one step closer to Dark Grape Man. I don't know if it's dyeable though. I don't think it is. Natty said, Jessie, I just wanted to ask if it's a bug with the outfits. And Jessie said, it's an unintended result of systems working more or less as designed. All y'all have already experienced the events, which is what unlocks new outfits. We thought we'd put in something to reset the check each year, but it's clearly definitely not working. So anyone who did the event last year will have some of this year's new stuff available for characters already. We'll call it a legacy bonus. And then Noodle said, add, it's not a bug, it's a legacy bonus to the phrase book. And then people said, but will it break anything? And Chelsea said, no, it won't break anything at all. You all are good to have fun with it. Just please don't spoil it for other platforms if you're in those channels. Last year, we've got a gazillion bugs, support requests for folks about outfits not unlocking properly and people not getting to equip them. I suppose this is better if it's clearly an accidental overcorrection. Ducky says, I do have one question, and that is, we'll be seeing more outfits for the characters in the future and my island guest as well? And Chelsea said, most types of content that are currently in the game are ones we hope to continue adding. Clothing for characters, furniture set for characters, bestie quests, and visitor quests. Always more on the horizon. About 2.7, Chelsea said, okay, today's hint. This update is going to be another very quality of life heavy update, especially around UI. What interfaces have pained you that we might have fixed? I think they fixed a lot of the things that we hated, like added the filters to the flowers, changes everything. I think maybe in the cafe they're annoyed. Steph said, can we have more hints because it's my birthday? And Chelsea said, okay, deal, there's treasure. Like more treasure chest, something like that. And the new 2.7 spoiler chat is called City Classics. So that's definitely the new name of the new update 2.7. Carl Hader Ping Me said, is there an estimate day when City Town comes? Like, would you say 3 months, a year? And Chelsea said, we don't have anything to announce about it at this time, unfortunately. And Nozomi said, we know CU3 will be fall 2025 and CU4 in winter 2025-2026. So that's a lot to look forward to. But we don't know if City Town will be to any of these. I don't think it was mentioned. Carl Sader said, what's a CU? I'm not in the loop. And for if you don't know, CU1, CU2 is Content Update 1, Content Update 2. And there are the names of the update on Switch and Steam that come at a different time than the 2 point something that are for Apple Arcade. They're talking about ways to make the trees in the orchard easier to pick. And gudetama says, that's only if there's no patch management and we have to pick from each tree individually every day. If there's patch management, then one day seems okay. And Chelsea said, sadly, I think the patch action stuff was implemented pretty specifically to the flower plot system and cannot apparently be replicated to the trees. That would be so nice to collect all the fruits at the same time, honestly. Maybe something that they can do during a hackathon. And Joe said, what about a fruit vacuum like the big challenges ability? And we had June bounties, and this time they added 𝖋𝖔𝖊𝖗 at the end, so we had to try and make flowers like 𝖋𝖔𝖊𝖗. This is fun though. And they said they will only give the result at the end of July together with July, so yay. Talking about the flowers, Chelsea said, one of the secret achievements that lives in my head and definitely not in the game is to get a molten frost feather and a frost blaze bulb. So apparently those two flowers cannot have these patterns. And Meow Girl says, I need a longer lifespan. And Chelsea said, nah, we have plans. So technically, flowers are not going to take forever, apparently. We're just waiting for a quest tag to be updated to be able to require unique variable data. Yeah, right now we can't say get a sky dandelion. We just can say get a dandelion. Cookie-chan says, I know flowers are supposed to be RNG, but I feel like certain plots have a higher chance of patterning. Chelsea said, I've seen this come up anecdotally a lot, even from me, whose flower sensibilities I trust mightily. So I've definitely walked through it with the Eng team, but we haven't been able to find anything, or rather, less about plot-specific stuff and more about more recently planted equals higher success. Interesting. So if you don't see success in your plans, try wiping everything and starting over. Maybe you'll have more chances. Then it's a completely crazy idea. This is just for jokes. Okay. Hello Noodle said, I want an extra mobile flower next. It's a different plot every day. And Chelsea went on a tangent. The lost flower. bane of every gardener's existence. Where will it be? At the bottom of the sea, burning in the caldera, in a seaside resort microplot? Every day the gardener makes their round, wondering. Why is there only one? Where did it come from? Why does it always move? 𝖃𝖊𝖗 figures it out first. Oh gosh, oh no. Do you know what most things need in order to move? There's only one explanation. The flower isn't lost. It's taken something lost. You can't believe it. You find the lost flower yourself for the day and go into camera mode to look closer. A lump knot in your throat as you notice the two bumps in the soil around the flower base. Oh no, oh no. Oh, it's like the flower knows you know. Ground particles vibrate around the plot. You shriek as the not so lost flower climbs its way up out of the plot and races towards you. You can't get out of the camera mode. It launches itself at the screen. Single tooth, 𝖋𝖑𝖔𝖊𝖗. The game glitches out and you dropped your phone. The app is closed, crashed, and all you remember is a faint grable voice of Top Hat crying out, "There they are." Excuse me, maybe we'll put trigger warning before this, Chelsea. What was that? What was that? Like, scary movie flower? Are you trying to traumatize people with the flowers even more than they currently are? 𝖃𝖊𝖗 said, almost had a minor panic before I realized the icy big patch moved to the other side, like moving the plot. And Chelsea said, I tried to get them not to do this and they refused. A asked, any words on when/if we'll get a bigger garden patch? Chelsea said, it's locked behind quest logic improvement to enable us to have unique data hooks in a quest. Basically, we need to be able to look at what kinds of flowers you've made more specifically to know when to trigger the unlocks. Then Chelsea posted a chart with, I think is the Crystalia and inside the mine planting thing, and says what is allowed in there or not. The eggworts apparently are native there, but the global are viable and nothing else. And Cookie-chan says, is that a Google sheet? And Chelsea said, 100% it is. I'd say 40% of our design happens in Google Sheet. Oh, and then she shares good old eggworts, and the eggworts is native of every single biome. And then, for example, she also shares the thistles that is native of Gemstone Mountain but viable in Hot Hat and Swamp and Nope somewhere else. In the 2.6.5 update, one of the most interesting things that was changed is that some flowers other than the Crystalia are not viable to be planted in the crystal caverns, because before you can only put the Crystalia, so how could you transfer the colors? And we also have the July flower bounties, and the first one is easy, it's the pinwheel. It's hard to make a two-colored pinwheel. We have the alternate easy with the white, but yellow and blue, I have not made that yet. And then, interestingly, we have a firework, so we have to interpret what that means. Request for inputs, flower types, patterns, and effect. Calling all gardener folks. We've made it a full year through the event flowers and the extremophiles. We've covered lots of different patterns and types. What do you feel is still missing in terms of types, patterns, and effects? What additional flower silhouette would you like to see? What additional patterns or effect would you like to have? Pictures always help. That is said, a watercolor effect and could be for extremophile a water effect. And Chelsea said, dev secret, this is actually exactly what the molten effect is, a rework of our water context shader. Interesting. Chelsea said, one issue with things like rainbow or things that are color specific is how you'd breed it, because colors wouldn't necessarily matter anymore or would kind of feel like a dead end flower. We struggled with this a bit, even with effects. Nim said, a fuzzy effect would look great on some of the OG flowers. And Chelsea said, I have no idea how we'd manage a shader like that, but it's very interesting to think about. That would require transparency, which kills performance. And then Sprout said, I wouldn't mind if some of the rainflowers near flower plots got their contextual bubbles reduced. Dig or catch bug. Wait, what's happening? Or there's a secret rainflower, let me just sit here and wait for it. And Chelsea said, the rainflowers are definitely not my fav from a UX perspective. If everything goes smooth with 2.7, there might be something that helps. Are you excited for the 2.7 update? Apparently that means that this one will have to be waited until the fall for Switch and Steam. That means that it will probably be with 2.8 and maybe even 2.9 or 3.0. We never know what will happen for CU3. Maybe 3.0 and CU3. I don't know, but stay tuned because you will know it first what happens here. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to catch up on my latest live streams over here. And remember, everybody can play cozy. Bye bye!